that was in the proposal that you hired the town, and is the town still doing the before and after school program? Did they pay you $25,000, Mrs. Scott?
Not to this point.
What?
No, we just started here.
They were supposed to pay you, I think it was so much halfway through, and then the balance at the by June.
Talking last year?
No, last year.
Last year.
They paid last year.
They what?
They paid the $25,000 last year.
They paid $25,000 last year.
Yes.
When I was here the last time, you said you didn't get the check.
I don't know about a check, but they paid $25,000 to Lyndhurst Board of Education last year.
Okay.
This year, we didn't get halfway yet, but I'm sure once we do, you'll remind us.
Oh, absolutely. And what about the fact of them, the school board check to make sure everybody is certified that we're handling the children? Were they all certified people that were in that program that were handling the children?
Before and after care?
Yes.
I'm sure they are. I'm almost positive that they are. I can't say 100%, but what do you mean by certified?
Well, I mean,
There aren't high school kids like there used to be, but we have 4 full-time teachers involved now, and a guidance counselor and a nurse. So is it well-staffed? It's a lot, yes, it's more well-staffed than before.
so the program was a better program and a better solution?
Are you asking my opinion?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. And
Now, let me say this. I didn't know what went on with the last one, but because of my association with Mr. DiMaggio, I know what's done there, and the attendance or the enrollment has risen dramatically because of the cut prices that he does, and gives discounts to multiple kids, and has special classes and special days for when we're off and the parents aren't. He keeps the school open to accommodate the parents. So is it well run? I could say yes unequivocally.
okay, was that a program that you had to rebid for this year that you're using now? Did you have to rebid that program again and put it out there like for before and after school program, or you just automatically just let the town do it again? I'm just asking, I just want to know the protocol.
I don't remember putting it out. I don't remember putting out the bid this year. No.
All right, I just wondered if it was something that has to get bid. So if well, this $25,000 that you're getting from them, is it enough to cover what they're supposed to be paying for the use of the building and the use of everything else, land, school buses or whatever?
That we got nothing when the other program was there. We used our buses, our insurance, our gas and electric, insurance in the schools.
Well, my question is
We have gotten $25,000 back.
covering it? Is it $25,000 that they're giving you covering the expenses that they're
I have to ask Scott that.
I was just curious, that's all.
I don't know the answer to that question. I do know in a previous district that I worked in, the town provided the before and after care and used the buildings in the morning and then used their facility in the afternoon with the bus, and there was no money that was received by the district from the town. So just as a comparison, so $25,000 to me is probably good.
Well, I think they made that in a proposal for them, and when we looked at it, that they were to give money back to the school board for the expenses because it wasn't done with the other program.
Elaine, let me just say this to you. Aside from the before and after care, Mr. DiMaggio has bailed us out so many times with buses and bus drivers and transportation and buildings and trees and fixing the school, everything you could imagine. So I think we're getting our money's worth. If you're worried about the
I was
25,000,
just following up.
I would say, if I had to put a, I don't think we could put a price tag on the service he provides the Board of Education.
All right, good.
The
You get-
best language to yes, the parents. And let me tell you, anybody I ever talked to about it, and they have a parent in the aftercare program, the kids love it. When they see the
Well, that's
parents
good.
come, they say, you're here already. I didn't hear that from the last program we were in.
I just want to make sure that they fulfilled their agreement, that they paid the school board, because when I was here
Yes, they have.
in December, they haven't paid you. So they must have paid you just one check then in June or something?
I guess they paid us last spring, if I'm not mistaken. It was last spring that Scott got the check.
Okay, I was just checking, thank you.
Tracy Corwin.
Hey everyone. So Superintendent, you brought up that the website is going to get cleaned up in the process of doing the park, so the website. Okay. I noticed something recently. Everybody has a profile with no information on it. Nothing about what you've done, your accolades, anything you've accomplished while you've been on the board, what you do when you're not on the board, or a proper email address for anybody. Or, except for Superintendent, you're excluded, and Steve, you're excluded, and Scott, you're excluded.
It's all on your website.
What's that? No, your names are.
Yeah, but-
And you have a picture. And you have a picture.
Yeah, but my hair wasn't-
And you don't have a picture. And you don't have a picture. And there's no information but people's names. You might have a little profile. That's you. That's about it. And there are no proper email addresses because,
No one needs the same email address.
oh, it's funny, because I sent an email and I received this notification. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I know it's had stuff next to my monitor. I sent an email recently. Your message can't be delivered because delivery to this address is restricted. So personal email addresses, say from parents, cannot get through to the Board of Ed general email. If you guys didn't know that, I'm glad to bring that to your attention.
That shouldn't be.
And I'll be happy to forward the error message.
Sure, just to see what the email was. Did you
Absolutely.
use it underscore or not? Because I know sometimes.
I clicked what was exactly there,
Okay.
and then I individually researched all your names in the directory to find out if you had an individual email address, and nobody did, except you. So, and Scott. So,
That's on us to fix. It's not-
okay. Oh, yeah, I'm just, hey, somebody needs to know. All right, just give me 1 second. Okay, that's over 2 things. So I'm sorry, I know this was on the agenda, but if something is being revised, that's a policy, are you supposed to read that to the public? Because class size was on the agenda, and I unfortunately missed August meeting. I don't know if it was read to the public. Also, the video online is inaudible.
It's the first reading, so it'll be a second one too. That's-
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but the policy wasn't read tonight, that wants to be revised on class size. Because I know that the Board of Ed bylaws state 21 students, so you're obviously revising that to up that number, but that wasn't read to the public, while the public was sitting here tonight, and it says first reading.
Do we normally have to do that? The policies are on the website, so I can definitely send it to you. But it's only a first reading, so.
Okay, so that means you guys are you're talking about it, and then you're going to read it to the public after you revise it for a second reading?
That's not a requirement for us to read it, but we can read it. I mean,
Okay, so class size, no, it said, all it
It
says,
says the policy. It says
it
the
says the
policy.
policy number and class size. But if you don't bring up the bylaws while you're sitting here, I just happen to know what the bylaw is because I looked it up. Because I have a kindergartner in a class with 26 kids who still doesn't have a full-time aide assigned to her room. Franklin. Yeah. I know it's in the works. Also, all of the kindergartners, I am aware, except for 2 schools in Washington, are at 24 kids deep. Well, all the other kindergartens are at 25 deep, and my child is in class of 26. I know an aide is in the works,
We have to go through a process of background checks, so we can.
but that's also another question. Well, no, because that woman back there said she worked here, and they all had background checks. So we're wasting money and time. And I have a kid in kindergarten, and one woman teaching 26 children. I can show you the Class Dojo video where 26 kids are dancing on a rug, jammed into each other doing the hokey pokey. It's sad. It's too many kids. And I understand we have issues. I've got that. But now you're changing your bylaws that have been established to accommodate the deficit problem that was created.
I have to be honest with you, and I'll just say from a non-deficit point of view, I don't know of many districts that have a 21 class size for kindergarten.
Oh, we did.
No,
Yeah,
here,
no,
no, I'm here, but regardless of a deficit or not, I don't really know anybody that's.
No, I mean, that's great, but you guys have to revolve.
Correct. And that's why you have to have 2 readings. That's, in terms of being transparent, it has to be 2 readings, so people have time to look at the policies or ask questions about it before the next.
Okay. And I'm just wondering if it's going to increase class size by the bylaws, part of that? I'm just wondering why our kids are at a disadvantage because we're not considered a poverty school district. Because I know in the state of New Jersey, if we were in a poverty district, the class size would be 8 to 21. So why are we now going to put our kids at a deficit due to our financial deficit?
I can definitely get information on what districts have policies and teams and what, so I can.
Okay, no problem.
That would be something I can share.
And, also, real quick, shouldn't we have a Board of Ed liaison talking to the town about the new building, the new school? Shouldn't there be somebody here and not giving us an answer in a public setting? I don't know, the city's dealing with that. The new school, guys. The big building, the dirt, 50 million. Somebody should maybe be talking to the town on a regular basis, just little updates. But I was just told when I asked the question earlier, that when somebody asked, I may have even been named actually, that I don't know, Mr. Bono said, I don't know, that's the town's project. So who is the
No,
liaison?
that wasn't the question, no.
It was about the testing.
Right, but
Yeah, so,
what my remark to you was, because I want you to misquote me here,
I said that we don't have any control over that. The town does,
yeah.
okay? Now, what is your question
Shouldn't there be somebody on this board?
and I just said, we do have a referendum committee,
Okay,
okay? And I think
then wouldn't the proper
Aaron,
answer be,
Joe,
I don't know, we'll have
myself.
the referendum committee to ask next time they meet? Would have been a more proper answer than, I don't know. No, the question about the, I think it was about the sampling, the testing, that, Tracy? The junior high. Tracy? Yes.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There needs to be a liaison between the district and the town, and also a liaison with those 2 parties, those 2 entities, should definitely be providing updates in a public forum to a degree, whether on their side, combined or separately. Everybody should be on the same page. Absolutely. So going forward, yes. Something more to talk about other than
Dirt.
exactly.
But that was the question, was
Dirt,
about dirt.
and also, we really can't speak to anything with regards to our end of it, which is the referendum, which is the renovation. We can't speak to it as of yet until we hear from the state monitor how we can progress.
Right.
Because that's stalled because when we went out to bid, it came back way too high.
Mhm.
So there are possible changes going on there. We don't know yet. With regards to the junior high, yes, there should be information exchange and shared.
Yeah, that's the problem, because that was when they moved to town, that was a vote on a referendum, and then we have a referendum, so So the town referendum and the school, sorry for the crossover, but just like this. Thank you.
Mrs. Young?
I'm here tonight. I had 6 dump trucks, mechanical truck. You have to bring your sugar up somewhere when you put it down. So I'm here tonight about the event. And I had the honor and privilege to be the band president for 8 years. 4 years with my first daughter, and then they're 7 years apart, so then 4 years with my second daughter. If something's not broken, you shouldn't try to fix it. I remember when I found out Melissa was going to be part of the band, I was hysterical because I was a product of Lyndhurst High School. And back when I was here, I graduated in '74. I think the band had 20 kids in it, and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. And they played On Wisconsin and the Notre Dame fight song, and that's what we did our routines to. I was a flag tour. So every week, we did it to the same thing. So when I found out my daughter was going to be part of the band, I was like, oh my God, I got a geek. Nobody's going to like her. Those band kids, they were shunned. And I came to my first football game. Here she is in the 8th grade, part of the band. And I was amazed. That year, they did a Beatles rendition. And they didn't play On Wisconsin, and they didn't play the Notre Dame fight song. And oh my God, they were phenomenal. And I was like, wow, what a difference some years made. And the big difference was Nick DeLoso, because he was hired to turn the program around. And turn the program around he did. You being new here, Mr. Greco, the Lyndhurst Music Association, it changed names. It was the Band Association, the Music Association, I don't know before it was. But we're totally self-contained. We are not school accounts. We have our own accounts. We have our own treasurer. We have a president, a vice president, and then a vice president of fundraising, our treasurer, and our secretary. We are totally self-contained. We do our own fundraisers for the kids. Our kids get jackets just like the athletes do, but we pay for them in full. We don't take any money from the parents. We give our kids a band dinner at the end of the year. We pay for that. The parents pay if they want to come. We pay for all the kids. Our band trip is all through fundraising, and we take care of our own. There are kids who sometimes can't afford the trip, and we make sure that the only reason one of these kids don't go on the trip is because their parents say no. So we take care of our own. I am just so saddened that this was allowed to happen to the band this year, that it was separated. And how do you practice a band with half a quarter or half of it or whatever it is now? I mean, when you send the football players out on the field, yeah, you might break them down in groups to practice their specialty. You got the kicker practicing, I'm not a football player. I had Giants, my mother and father had Giant tickets, I never went to one game. But whatever. They practice in their groups, and then they practice together. So that I hear we're 3-0, congratulations, because they practiced together and they did well. Our band is separated. That is totally ludicrous. On top of it, we're a blue-collar town. You have parents who work. You know, my husband was from Tenafly. When he found out that we had to pull kids out of a math class to take music, he said to me, "Are you kidding me?" And I was fortunate that I had 2 smart kids that when they pulled her out of math class, it didn't matter because she was fine. Or if they pulled her out of English class, but there were kids who were fine that they had to be pulled out of a class. But yet these kids wanted to be part of a music program. and they work their tails off to do it. And most of us, on the high school level, but even on the elementary level, we parents bought our instruments for our kids. Now, what the school buys are the big instruments. In other words, the mother's not going to buy a tuba for a kid if he decides to take the tuba or the drums. But, I mean, my daughters all play the flute. I bought 3 flutes and 2 piccolos and a saxophone because one got into the jazz band and something else for the keys because she decided she wanted. So all I did was spend money on instruments, but it was a phenomenal program. And those kids are a family. You know, you have to be there to see it. You have kids who are special need, you have jocks, you have nerds, you have kids who are smarter than all, hell, but they blend. When they're in that room, it doesn't matter at all where you fall in this building. I remember when Emily graduated 3 years ago, I won't mention any names, but this boy who graduated in her class came looking for me, and he was with his mom, and he tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around and I said, oh, I said hello to him, I said, congratulations, and he said, will you take a picture with me? And I started to laugh. I said, you want me to take a picture with you? And he said, yes. And I said, well, why is that? He said, so that you could show the other band parents. He said, because I want to thank you all. He said, because my best 4 years here at Lyndhurst High School was because I was part of the band. He was the shyest kid that you ever want to meet. Like I said, who had some special needs. And my youngest daughter was crazy like me. So she would go in every morning and say good morning to him, and make him say good morning to her. And then she rallied the other kids and said to them, okay, when you go in there, you say good morning to him. So they all start saying good morning to him. And then when he had to play, he didn't always play the right notes, but they cheered him on and made him seem like he was the best clarinet player you could ever find. And that kid loved every minute in that band room. And on the band trips, he always had somebody to room with, and to want to take a picture with me so that people would know what a great time he had in that band room. These kids are devoted. And it's not a seasonal thing. These kids work all year long. I mean, they're pulled in all different directions. My Christmas Eve, when my kids were started a little later, because thank God Italians eat late at night, because they did the mass at Mount Carmel. My 2 daughters were flute players. So each one of them had to, I don't know if that's the kids' mass or whatever, and they would have to practice the week before with the woman there. And they did it because they loved music. And Sika used to have a parade, and they led the parade. We lead the Memorial Day parade. We lead the Halloween parade. We lead the Little League parade. And while many of the people in Lyndhurst who have homes down the shore get to go away for Memorial Day, the band parents, if they go away, have to be back Sunday night because those kids have to march in the parade on Monday. And they're all there, and they all do. Okay, so we don't get that big break. And the 7 credits that's now in debate, well, I wish I could take credit for it because nastily somebody thought I did that. Not true. That came from Joe Abate. And the reason Joe Abate did it was to give these kids an incentive because they did have to march Memorial Day while everybody else was out and about. So he tried to give them some type of incentive. And when the American Legion calls them, because they need trumpeters, and when Mount Carmel wanted them, and they're down there, or when the Little League wants them. So he did it as an incentive for them to be able to do that. And like I said, people here work hard for their money. Now we understand Mr. DeLosa can't give lessons. These lessons are free lessons that some parents can't afford to pay for lessons. It cost me a fortune to pay for my kids' lessons, and thank God I was able to do it. Some of these kids, if they don't get taught by Nick, they don't get taught at all. This was very well thought out. It was very well planned. There was no way that schedule can be broken. And this is the reason why the block scheduling was like it was. so that prior to this new schedule that came out, is so that the band could stay period one and they could all be together. This is such a sad thing that I have to say, I feel that these kids, and this has gone back a long way, have been sectioned out. The stories I could tell you about what these kids have been put through, it would truly amaze you. And it's not just hearsay. I've seen it. I've had other people tell me about it. I've seen other kids experience it. I mean, this has been ridiculous. One of the things I think that was totally ludicrous was the World Language Society. Elena Wise had gotten hurt with her foot and was out on disability. And the choir sings for the World Language Society. And Elena said to these kids, come to my house. I'll work with you, because they were so upset that they were going to sing and they wanted to be prepared. So she says, come to my house. I'll work with you so you'll be ready. So my daughter was one of the ones that was going to sing, and I came to everything that my kids did. And I was the band president, so I figured you should support different things. So I came. And the program went on. Everybody had a program. We had 2 vice principals here and the principal, okay, plus other faculty. And the program went on. And then they had the guest speaker. And after the guest speaker, the choir was supposed to be introduced. They were supposed to sing. Well, they never introduced the choir. They bypassed that whole section and went right into the closing of the World Language Society. Well, not with my watch. So I went and I said, hello, are you kidding me here? These kids didn't sing. So they shuffled them to the gym where they were having refreshments and shoved them in the corner and told them they could sing their songs. And of course, nobody was paying attention because they were too busy eating and having their snacks. They could care less. The only people standing in front of those kids were the parents that were there. Okay, so they sang, they were troopers, they left, and I happened to catch the principal. And I looked at her and I said, how dare you? How dare you do that to those kids? And she looked at me and smiled, like she always did, and said, I'm just the building supervisor. I wasn't in charge of that program. And I said, really? You're the building supervisor? Well, we pay you an awful lot of money to be the building supervisor, don't we? And I said, and you're going to let this happen to the kids? This is okay. So they had the Spanish teacher come and give them a little apology. Like, oh, we're so sorry this happened. Okay? But there were, and that was just the choir. But we've had band kids miss their yearbook picture that we had to retake. These sports teams wouldn't let them leave in time to make on a concert night. We've had volleyball girls parents have to come, maybe one of them, and sit with the uniform on our lap because somebody got it in their head that the band was late for a football game. Never in my years was that band late. So we had to sit with the band uniform on our lap, so when the girls finished playing volleyball on a Friday night, they could run in the bathroom and get changed, and one of the parents could take them to the gate. Where before that never happened. It was tight. You know, they would leave a few minutes, especially and they would get on the bus, and the bus made it. But anything that could be done to tweak these kids is done. I wish I kept it, sadly I didn't. But I copied the names of all the valedictorians and salutatorians out there when I was band president. And we got the class president names. And I brought them to Nick, and he outlined, highlighted every one of those kids on that list that were in the band. And more than half combined were there. Okay? And the joke is, and the honor is that when you're a valedictorian and you're in the band or salutatorian, you bring your speech to the band room, and he would put them on the window. So when I asked him when I became Board of Ed president, was I allowed to put my speech that I did at high school on the window, he started to laugh. He said, okay, I'll put your speech up too. So these kids would be so proud. And I don't understand why we are out to destroy such a wonderful, wonderful, wholesome program, and how this possibly could have even gotten this far. And I really think it's a shame. I think there are a select group that are picked on for whatever reason. You know, people always make fun of things they don't understand. But these kids just don't play instruments. We have football players, we have basketball players, we have volleyball players. We have, I mean, my 2 girls play volleyball. My younger one got to be on the state winning championship bowling team. So they have to practice, they have to do honors band. If they're chosen, my kid had to go Monday night. She went to Rutherford every Monday night from 7 to 10. And then had to come home and do homework to be part of honors band. And now I hear honors band isn't being recognized. Really? It's not something that's just handed to them. They have to do outside activities. So if for the extra point that they get for honors band, it's not just for, they have to go and do other things. So playing at the church, or playing in either Montclair State or Rutherford. I mean, there's all extra things. They have to take private lessons. So that's not handed to them. That's something that they work for. And then to be told that honors band isn't recognized, that there were kids left out of National Honor Society because of it, because honors band was their only honors class. So they didn't get to be eligible for National Honor Society. And you broke the rules by doing that, because if you're going to change an honors band, if you go to the state, you'll find this out. First, you have to discuss it in an executive session. Then you've got to come out and announce it to the public that you were changing honors band, that you were no longer recognizing it as a course. And then you have to read it 3 times to let the public know that this was not done. And kids were not inducted into the honor because they couldn't even apply for it because they didn't have any other honors classes.
I can just answer the credits and the honors. The credits are 7. It's not reflected in their on their report cards yet, but it's going to be before everybody's been.
For now, until somebody really forces their hit for now. But that's the reason it came about, is for an incentive. Right.
To try at least with the kids that we have it.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you the reason that there was such an obstacle with honors band this last go-around was because my daughter was salutatorian. And it was thought she was salutatorian because the honors band, a couple of credits pushed her over. Well, it wasn't the case. She was solid salutatorian. She took all honors classes her senior year. She didn't